I'm now joined by the owner and founder of TG Dbacks, Todd Greene. Todd, man, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate the time. A busy day for your team without question.
Absolutely. It's a gorgeous day. Glad to be here.
So let's talk about success in numbers. You guys, 16 guys drafted, more than 350 scholarships that you've helped players get. But take me inside the foundation of why it was important for you to start a program.
Well, the main reason why I started was from my son, my oldest son, who's now 26. When he was coming through, I had just got done with my playing career and didn't really understand the landscape of travel baseball at the time. So I started one team, and then it morphed into an older brother on my team. So we had an older team as well. And then it just kind of grew from there. People asking me to take on more teams and coach them and teach them how to play the game the right way. And it's really been enjoyable for me. It's how I got my coaching blood out, my competition blood out. I've stayed in the game. I'm still a special assistant to the GM for the Arizona Diamondbacks, but I wanted to be home. As a father, I miss enough of my older kids' events when I was playing, and I didn't want to go down the player development road in professional baseball, so I went into the scouting side. And so I got my coaching blood out through this academy, and I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, more than a quarter century in professional baseball, I think you're ultimately going to see a player through a different lens as somebody who, obviously from the scouting, but somebody who's been there and done that in, 11 years at the highest level. I know you want to see as many guys go through the TG Dbacks program and get as far as they can in the game, but how do you kind of approach player and person development? Because I think you're going to see those things differently as somebody who's been there.
Well, I think you can teach the life lessons through baseball. I really believe baseball is the best sport for that because there's so much failure in baseball, and learn how to handle that and persevere and be able to work through things is the way I've chosen to run my program. But it's not just the TG Dbacks players I enjoy seeing. I mean, I enjoy seeing all the teams, all the academies, specifically the ones who do things what I believe is the right way. Run their academies, but I'm not the guy who pulls for other kids and teams to fail. I hope they all do well, and so I just enjoy being around this many baseball players, whether they're wearing D-backs uniforms or not, and it's just fun to watch them compete and grow because we need baseball fans, and hopefully one day they're going to grow up to have kids and coach their kids too. So I just enjoy all of it, all part of it. Of course, I like having them with D-back stuff on, but I don't root against any kid or team or organization to fail.
So you've got a couple teams in this event, national team, the red team. So Gavin, catcher, he's getting that exit velo into the 90s now. He's going to be on his way to Mount Pisgah. Tell me about what it's like to go through it with another kid.
It's fun. Gavin's our baby. He's the youngest of four, and we decided we were going to try to build him up a really good team to play for. We have kids from several different states on our scout team, which won't be able to get together until next weekend. So we kind of combine teams to make sure our players that are done with their school ball are actually getting their work in and competing. So it's been fun. And the kids always have fun. I mean, baseball is such a small community. All the kids know each other. So it hasn't been a big deal as far as coming together as a team to play as the TG Dbacks Red in this tournament. So it's been fun. And Gavin has been fun to see him grow and develop. He's gotten so much better the last 2 years. So I'm really proud of him and the work that he's put in. And it's easy to say, well, he's got me at home to work with him, but I assure you all of his work comes from him, and I never tell him no, but he's always asking to go do something, and I couldn't be more proud of him.
When you think about building a program, and not only from the on-field aspect of it, from the behind the scenes, I mean, the managers that you were around during your pro career, guys like Clint Hurdle, Buck Showalter, Joe Madden, Joe Torre, how did those guys kind of help shape what we see from you on the field now?
Well, I think you take my fabric is weaved with all of them, right? So I've learned good and bad from all of them, and so what you do as a baseball person, specifically a catcher, is you have to take all the information, apply it to who you are, the knowledge that you have. If I could have stayed healthy and got to play every day instead of just being a backup, I might not understand the game the way I do now. But being a backup catcher and in the dugout, and watching and listening to coaches talk about stuff during the game is really how I learned the game. And as you said, I do see it a little different than most people just because I lived it, had a front row seat for a long time. And the Hall of Famers you mentioned that I've been around, it's the knowledge and the way you see things and the way you handle stuff in the game when they come up is with that, and still able to keep your heartbeat slow, right? So I was just fortunate to be around so many great baseball people, and just to add, two of the smartest baseball people I was ever around was Larry Boa and Don Zimmer. I mean, they weren't managers when I played. I had them as the bench coach and the third base coach, respectively. But those two guys saw the game different than any two people I've been around, and so learning from them and still being able to talk to Larry Boa every now and then when I get up to Philadelphia is a treat.
What is it about catchers and the ability to kind of see things? You think about, Joe Girardi, David Ross. It just seems like so many guys that were in that position, they just – I mean, even talking to, Tyler Flowers here in Atlanta, it's just saying they just seem to have a different take on things.
Well, you're kind of managing it at the same time. So everybody thinks you just go back there and catch, you put down signs, and you block the ball and you throw the ball. There's just way more to it than that. Mm-hmm. So before I went into a game, I wanted to know who was live in my bullpen that night. So when I got to the 5th or 6th inning, I can start thinking along with my manager on if we have a left-handed reliever available or not versus where we're at in the lineup. How I called the game was based on what's the score, what's the inning, who's on deck, who's in the hole, all these type of things. So there's never just one thing. Like, I'm not just putting the fastball down and catching it. I'm thinking about the next pitch and the next hitter too. And so I think that's what separates catchers is you kind of have to manage the game as you go. And also the reason why so many catchers have been really good managers, some of the best ever, is because of the relationships you have to have with your players. If you have, back when I played, we only had 11 pitchers on the staff. Now they have 13, but that's 13 different relationships a catcher has to have, and they're all different.
Yep.
Right. So, and I think that translates into managing, where you're going to have 26 players on your team. Now you have to have a different relationship with all of them. So
you mentioned the managers making an impact on you and watching how they work. I mean, certainly you were around a number of Hall of Fame players as well. I mean, you think about, guys like obviously Derek Jeter, even like Eddie Murray, Ricky Henderson. You could just so many of them. How do you kind of approach the younger players today when you're saying, this is how I saw these guys, reach this kind of a level? Do they seem to be a little bit more receptive to knowing, I've seen what it takes to perform at that level?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, baseball players, I grew up in the baseball card era, right? With baseball cards are making a comeback, right? But I was huge baseball. I still have my baseball cards from when I was a kid. So I was a fan of the game, not just a player. So I had the little helmets. Remember the little helmets?
Oh, yeah,
And I put them in, like if somebody went from first place to second place, I switched the helmets every day. I looked at the box scores every day. So that's how I grew up. And so I loved it. It's been in my body for the whole time. The game is different now than when I played, and that's okay. It's not my game anymore. It's their game, and some of the things that were a huge part of the way I played, they've taken out. For example, you can't break up double plays anymore. You can't run over catchers anymore. So those were huge team building things back then, and they're absent from the game now, which is fine. Again, I'm not the old bitter guy. It's not my game. So if these are the way they want to play, I'm all for it. These players today are bigger, stronger, and just as much talent as we ever had. So it's fun to watch, still be around, and hopefully have my son grow up and have a chance to do that.
Are you envious of those catchers that now they can't, they don't have to worry about those collisions anymore?
Well, as you may or may not know, but Prince Fielder ran me over in 2006, which pretty much I was able to finish that year, but it ended my career. And so I'm not bitter about that at all. It was part of the game. I ran over catchers too in my time as a base runner. So I would like to still see it in the game. I think it's part of it. I think it's big boy baseball, and when Buster Posey got hurt because Buster Posey put himself in a bad position.
Yep.
Right. That wasn't a dirty play at all. So Buster didn't protect himself. So either way, it's I can have it either way. I'm gonna love the game with or without it. I would prefer to see it still in the game though.
When you bring your kids out here for a weekend like this, I mean, what do you still get excited about each time that kind of never changes for you when you step onto a field?
Well, I think you see so much growth from 12 to 14 years old, and now these kids are 14 years old, and some are getting way better, and some are having to struggle to keep the level of play that they've had the last couple of years. I just like to see them change. I like to see the development of each kid and the way they grow up and mature. And that's why I poured into these kids, specifically with Gavin's team since they were 9 years old. And so the ones who no longer play with us, I still root for them and cheer for them because I've poured into them too. And so I still have those attachments with them. So it's just fun seeing them compete. Of course, I want our teams to win, but it's not the if they win, it's the how they win. And so that's what we use to teach them is the how, right? So just watching them compete and learning from everything that happens in a game individually and as a team, and then we talk about it.
Got to know, being here in Braves country, did you walk around a little bit prouder with that D-back stuff on the last 6 months or so?
I did, and I'm a Georgia boy. I grew up in Augusta, and I've been a big Braves fan my whole life. So it's been fun to see the Braves come back these last 4 or 5 years and be really good, and then to have our team that we've worked hard to build and develop and invest in. Last year, have an unbelievable last 6 weeks of the season and run through the playoffs, and just ran out of gas in the World Series, but. It's nice to have the Diamondbacks and the Braves be good at the same time, and it's just a great baseball environment. My son, we watch the games every night, so it's been fun for us.
Well, best of luck to the Diamondbacks the rest of the way, and obviously your Diamondbacks as well. Todd, thank you so much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you very much. Pleasure being here.